What's going on, guys, and welcome to this next entrance into the series of tier lists from Combat Corner, which is us.
That is us.
That is us. Today we're going to be ranking. What are we ranking?
We're ranking the current UFC champions from top to bottom, the ones that we think will, I guess, last the longest in their respective divisions, and the ones who are a little bit shithouse and
Not as dominant.
and we don't think will last very long.
Exactly.
Shall we put ourselves up in the peak section?
I think that, from what we've done in the game, we belong right about here.
Yeah.
Set in the peak of everything and of all. So, with that being said, moving on to the next one, the next champ. Should we start from... I'm going to muddle this list up a little bit,
Okay.
just so we can go from top to bottom and it not be too weirdly organized,
Cool. That's
So-
well muddled.
There we go. Let's start off with this guy. I'm gonna put him there. Starting off, Pantoja. Kind of recently became a champ. Pantoja.
Said one defense, isn't it?
Had one defense. Royval, that was against. Obviously beating Brandon Moreno for the belt. I wasn't that impressed with his title-winning fight and his defense as well. Even more so his defense. I didn't think that it was that impressive. I thought that Royval could have done a lot more.
But
to
is
win
there
that fight.
anyone in the division currently who has been able to, completely outclass him?
No. I can't remember when his last loss was, actually, and who it was to. Let's have a look. Did he... I don't think he fought Davison Figueiredo. Well, I could be wrong. Obviously, Davison was... so he did lose to Davison Figueiredo, and he also lost to Askarov, which is pretty crazy.
Both by decision.
Yeah, and Askarov lost to Kai Kara France, which is mad. So, look, he's been pretty dominant, like, in terms of, he hasn't lost in a while, but the fights that he's had for the belt haven't been that dominant. I'm willing to put him in potential.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say he's an exciting champ, but at the moment, in the condition that he's in, he's shown that he's not beatable by any of the other guys who
So far,
who
yeah,
have had a look.
100%. So I think potential is good for now.
Yeah,
He's definitely got the potential to be a dominant champ. Moving up, and this is an odd one because he is the heavyweight champ at the moment. Obviously, Tommy Aspinall is the interim heavyweight champ.
And this guy is widely regarded as the GOAT.
He's either one or two on everyone's list. Let's be real, and that's completely fair. He dominated the light heavyweight division for a very, very long time. Absolute craziness there. Now he's at heavyweight. He's
Fought once at heavyweight, but since then, obviously getting injured, we haven't really been able to see what John Jones is capable of in the top
heavyweight
weight division in the UFC. He absolutely manhandled Cyril Gane,
did.
which other people have struggled with over the last few years that we've seen Gane at the top end of this division. But does he have the caliber or the gas left in the tank to take on some of these younger guys like Aspinall, Pavlovich, even Blades? Like some of these guys who are just
does he want to do it?
yeah. So, I mean, I don't think we can put him anywhere other than peak.
I know, because we've got to consider the light heavyweight reign that he had.
It's
We
not
have
fair.
to, He dominated at light heavyweight for a very long time. Towards the end of his reign, his second reign at light heavyweight wasn't so impressive. Was that because he wasn't as motivated? Who knows, Went up to heavyweight, made it look easy. He's probably going to defend against Stipe and then walk off into the sunset, But he's peak.
Honestly, Aspinall.
So do I. I really would love that to happen, but I just don't see it happening.
Right.
Moving on, I think that's it. Shithouse.
That is the only place we can have. Unfortunately, look, she might come out and fight either Pena or Kayla Harrison and have an absolute barnstormer of a performance and show the world that she deserves to be there. But that's not going to happen.
No.
Raquel Pennington doesn't really even have the record to support getting a championship shot in the first place. The competition that she came up against was also in the same boat, not nearly experienced enough. Hadn't fought, I don't think, any of the real top contenders before getting her shot against, getting a shot for the vacant belt. But Raquel Pennington, it's some big shoes to fill. Nunes obviously walking away from the sport not so long ago now, and Pena being injured, it did leave her and no one else really in the contention for a belt. So probably one of the worst title fights in history.
That was a terrible, terrible fight. Bruno Silva gassed out early and Pennington couldn't even finish her, and she was making some real rookie mistakes.
Yeah.
Low fight IQ.
Kept clinching when she was dominating in the boxing exchanges, and
let's hope she gets absolutely demolished by Kayla Harrison soon.
I think I'm really hoping that's going to happen. So
she's shithouse, and there's no other way about saying it. We do have another one here. We've got Ilia Topuria, unfortunately beat Volkanovski recently by a dramatic, absolutely insane KO, flatline. Volk was the long reigning champ. If this was Volk, he would definitely go into peak. Obviously, he had 5 title defenses, I believe. Went up, almost got the belt off Islam. Ilia Topuria, slightly different kettle of fish because he hasn't had a title defense yet. He is a young champion. Obviously beat Volk the way that he did. But we need to see a few more title defenses before we put him anywhere serious.
I think there's no other spot to put him other than potential, though.
Yes. Having so much potential.
Having the knockout in the fashion that he did against one of, I'm going to say the most dominant featherweight champion we've ever seen.
Yeah. A guy who beat Max 3 times.
Yep. And a guy who beat Aldo. A guy who, he beat everyone. So he really just laid out the roadmap to a perfect career until he came up against Ilia.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a lot of really fun fights for Topuria to yet have in the featherweight division, but he's still got to prove himself at the top to get to that.
He's got time. I think he will do it. I think he'll do it.
I agree.
I'm pretty confident that he will. I'm not so confident with him fighting Max if he does fight Max. I think that's going to be a tricky fight for him to win. Max just has that granite chin, which was on full display against Justin Gaethje.
Yep. Saying that,
at lightweight,
he showed that he can go the full distance when he fought Emmett. Yeah. That's Topuria I'm talking about.
He's got the gas tank.
So whether he can be more active on the feet than Max typically is, that will be the big question, because Max is just an absolute cardio powerhouse every time he steps into the cage.
He's a volume master, but he's also proving that he's got absolute dynamite in those hands as well. I love Max.
Stepped up to lightweight and knocked out the BMF. So he's definitely got power.
And he also knocked out Korean Zombie at featherweight before that. So proving that he can knock people out with one punch. So that's going to be a very, very, very interesting fight, and I can't wait for that one to get booked, hopefully soon. Moving on.
Grasso.
We've got another women's champion, Alexa Grasso. She won the belt, obviously, off Shevchenko, submitting her, and then had a very close fight with her the second time, which was judged a draw, I believe. And then they're going to fight a third time after the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter TV show wraps up that they're headlining, which no one gives a shit about. Look, I can only put her in average. She's all right. She's not shithouse like Pennington. She won the belt in an impressive way. It was close against Shevchenko. I don't see her in potential. I don't see her as a dominant, long reigning champion.
Shevchenko is one of the best that we've seen.
In absolutely. But she's older now. She's not. She was slowing down in her last few fights before this fight happened. You could argue the fight before this, she could have lost as well. Mm-hmm. So, did she beat the best form of Shevchenko? No. Did she beat her in the second fight? No, they went to a draw. I actually thought Shevchenko did win that second fight. I just don't see her having that much potential. I think she's average. What do you think?
I would have put her in the back end of potential.
Yeah,
but that's
you would have put her in the back end, would you?
I wouldn't have put it in the back end. I would have put her at the further end of potential. Just because, whether Shevchenko was past it or not, she is the only real top name in that division, and was so dominant at the top. And Grasso went in there and finished it in the first fight. And sure, yeah, the second fight may have been a little bit slower and ended up in a draw, but I think, yeah, depending on how this third fight goes, I think there is some real potential for her to do some damage at that weight class. And like we've seen in previous times, when people do get that belt, they get a little bit of a different belief behind them, and they yeah. I think it's DC or Rogan or whoever it is. They say that they typically get 30% better, and I would really like to see that for her because yeah, I think 30% on top of what she's got now, she would just absolutely woman handle everyone in that division.
Minge grab. I think that's what they call it.
Speaking of minge grabbers, Islam Makhachev.
We've got Islam, the man. He is Muslim. Islam. So
Booked to fight Dustin Poirier in his
third defense. First defense against an actual lightweight. Obviously, his title reign has been a pretty interesting, entertaining one so far. He first of all won the belt by a very, very dominant finish over Charles Oliveira. Made Charles look like he didn't want to be in there. Made Charles cry. Big brothered the guy. Submitted him on the ground where everyone thought Charles was going to cause problems for Islam. Just dominated him. And then, very close fight with Volkanovski. Very, very close. Arguments that it could have gone either way. And then, Volkanovski ended up on top at the very end of the fight, beating him up. Volk just being Volk. Then obviously beat Volk, who came in on very short notice, looked out of shape, didn't look like he was all there. Now he's going to be fighting Dustin Poirier. He is ranked number 1 pound for pound. I think it's a tricky one. It's either going to have to be peak or potential. I think he's above those two.
I think he is above those two as well, but I think he can't go into peak. He hasn't defended against a lightweight yet. Sure, he looked great against Charles Oliveira, but he looked dog shit in that first fight where Volk had a full camp.
Dog shit?
Not dog shit, but dude, Volk won that fight in my opinion.
It was really close.
And I know I'm probably a little bit biased towards the great, but I believe he won that fight. And it was the judging didn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. I can't put Islam in at peak because he hasn't defended against an actual lightweight yet. So his championship reign, although his career's been impressive, his championship reign at that hasn't been all that impressive so far.
We can put him there. I'm happy with that.
Cool.
Next up, we have
Rocky
Edwards. Leon Rocky Edwards isn't booked to fight anyone at the moment. His last fight was against Colby Covington at the end of last year. Fought twice last year. Obviously, he beat Usman for the second time in their third fight. Obviously, won the title by dramatic last-second KO of Kamaru Usman.
He and Islam being two of the lesser active champions.
Yeah, at the moment
on the roster currently.
And look, Leon looks very dominant. He dominated Colby Covington. He did very well and beat Usman pretty convincingly in their third fight, and obviously KO'd him clean in the second. I think again, potential much higher than these two at the moment, but can we put him in peak? If it was Usman still, he would definitely go into peak, but he needs more title defenses. He needs to be more active. He needs to fight that guy. So I think that's where we can put him for now.
Yeah.
Bilal snack pack. Moving on to another guy, and I'm going to defy all logic here when I give you my opinion on this guy.
Okay.
I think he needs to go into peak.
Yeah.
He's had a title reign. Well, didn't really have a reign at middleweight, but he won the belt at middleweight. Was cutting an ungodly amount of weight. Went up to light heavyweight, and ever since has just looked absolutely terrific.
He's a god beater.
He is a absolute. His striking is just unmatched in the UFC. The only person who does come close is probably Izzy. Would you agree?
I would agree. And even at that, I'd say technique-wise, Alex Pereira has got Izzy down. I think the thing that gives Izzy an edge against him in their fights is probably his game plan and his self-belief. Whereas Alex Pereira just has the way that he throws leg kicks, the way that he picks up his left hook, all of those aspects just really do make him, like you say, unmatched in the striking department.
Confusing.
Against everyone he comes up against.
He's a very confusing one to figure out.
Obviously, seeing him just completely annihilate Jamahal Hill with that first round knockout.
Jury.
Even that fight against Yuri. And then just kind of it was a close fight, but getting a win against Jan Blachowicz when he was trying to surge back to a title,
And that was an
title
elevation
shot.
as well.
That's right.
You know?
So this man so far at light heavyweight, sure, he's only defended once. He won the vacant belt against a very dangerous Yuri Prohaska, but yeah, I don't think there's anywhere else you can put him apart from peak, just because we're extremely biased and we both love the guy.
Honestly, he's just the man. He is the
Yeah.
fucking man.
Now,
The man of all men.
I want to start off with this next one by saying I'm going to defy all logic here, but I believe she belongs in peak.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
Wei Li hasn't really met her match yet. I don't think in this last kind of title reign she's had.
She's leveled up.
She has leveled up big time, and she's taken things super seriously, and not really letting anyone get an edge on her in any sort of manner.
She's not edging anyone.
No. That fight against Zhao Nan, what was it? Is that
Yang
right?
Zhao Nan.
Yeah, I had it right. So getting a very, very close submission finish, but then having to grind out a win due to the fight not being stopped. But she did have some moments in there where she did look under pressure, but she came back with a fire and it lit under her every single time and showed why she is the champ. And yeah, I don't see anyone else in that division giving her a run for her money anytime soon.
She's really clearing out the division. She does have chin issues, I believe. But I'd like to see her go up and challenge Grasso.
Or Shevchenko, depending
Or
on who wins.
Shevchenko, whoever wins. I'd like to see her go up and do that, and I think she can beat either of those two women. So a lot in store for Zhang going forward. I wish she didn't promote China in her post-fight speech. That was a bit annoying. But nonetheless, we move on.
We have two
more. Dricus du Plessis won the belt early this year. I think we all know where he needs to go.
I don't. I'm willing to hear your opinion.
I want to put him in potential.
I want to put him in between Taporia and Pantoja, though. I don't want to put him any further up than that, because winning the belt against a very dangerous-looking Sean Strickland, the best he's ever looked. But like I said a couple of, maybe 2 weeks ago now, Strickland has always struggled against power punches. But the thing is, sure, Dricus has potential. He's got the belt now. We might see that 30% elevation from him, where he could come out in his next fight looking very, very unbeatable. But there are still a lot of questions that hang over his career so far. I mean, he had that really good knockout against Rob Whittaker, sure. But before fighting Whittaker, he didn't really have much experience under his belt.
He got pretty outstruck by Till in times, and Darren Till, he's known for being someone who folds under pressure, and that's how he managed to win in the end. But he got pretty badly outstruck on the feet by Darren Till, so there's a lot of questions that we need to answer. And I think he's going to defend against Izzy, and I think we're going to get those questions answered in that fight.
I think that's the perfect test. And if he has elevated, like I say, by that 30%, I think he will handle Izzy. But if he goes in there the same Dricus that we've seen in previous times, I don't see him getting the win. I don't see him getting a win against Strickland in a rematch even.
That's a tough match. Tough match.
So yeah, I think that's where he belongs at the moment.
I'll agree with you there. We do have one more, and honestly, he's probably going to end up in the same category again. There's a lot of champs at the moment with a lot of potential, but they're new, fresh faces.
Exactly.
And we need to answer some questions against the top guys in their division.
There's been a high turnover rate at the top of every division in the last 2.5 years now. We haven't seen that in a long time. I think we had this kind of reign of dominance from the likes of Izzy, Usman, even Ngannou, even though he wasn't so active, and then obviously the likes of Nunes. And obviously Volk. So like all of those guys there, that's 5 champions that dominated for a number of years. And now we've had this real turnaround in the sport.
In quick succession.
In very quick succession, yeah. So
I think that I'm wanting to put him in potential. I don't know whether to put him after or before Ilya, though.
I think before Ilya. Further up than Ilya. Just because he has defended.
He has.
But it was against Vera.
It was.
And we've spoken about this on multiple occasions. That wasn't
wasn't a legit one.
testing championship fight for your first defense.
And there's the thing with that might put O'Malley just slightly over Topuria is O'Malley wants to go up and fight Topuria. If O'Malley wins 2 belts that way, that makes him an instant megastar.
Yeah.
Topuria's not really thinking about going up, and if he does, it's Islam waiting there. And do we
that's
really want to
why
see
he's
that?
Not
Exactly, right? No one wants to fight Islam, apart from Poirier, apparently. But, I think that's a fair reason to keep him there. He's flashy, he's a star, he's got that star power, that star aura about him. So I think that's a fair place to put him. And that finishes off our list.
It does. But we'll be back next week.
We will.
With yet another list. We release 2 podcasts every week, if you didn't already know. Now you know. We've been Combat Corner. My name's Jackson.
My name's Kobe.
We'll see you later.